our speaker number 2, John Katricak, who will be evaluated by Russ Koch. When John Katricak first stepped up to the podium as a guest trying table topics for the first time, he never could have imagined giving a speech with a time requirement of 8 to 10 minutes. Yet here he is, 3 years later, ready to give his Project 10 speech and earn his CC. While doing so, he'll try to influence you to say yes more. The speech is titled, Trying is Doing. Please welcome John Katricak.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters.
Do or do not. There is no try.
With all due respect to Mr. Yoda, I have to disagree. To me, trying is doing. It's what made me who I am today. Sure, the results might not always end up the way you plan. Sure, it may only be the first step towards ultimately doing. But in the end, it's the trying is what's important. Again, that's what made me what I am today. I hope to convince you that it can make you a better person as well. For starters, I just came up here and I tried a Yoda impression. And it was a pretty terrible Yoda impression. In fact, it was my impression of Grover from Sesame Street. Even then, it wasn't very good. But you know what? I tried it, and hopefully now I have your attention. I wasn't always a trier. There are some random examples in my past. One that comes to mind, when I was in college, I tried out for the baseball team at Notre Dame, and thought my defense, I would like to think my defense was okay, but I could barely hit the ball out of the infield at batting practice. And fortunately, through some random act of kindness, they let me stay through the whole week of tryouts. But in the end, I was cut. I wasn't, well, maybe I was a little disappointed. But as I was walking back to my dorm with my friends who had also tried out, they were all hanging their heads low because their competitive careers were over, and they didn't want me anywhere near them because I was on such an emotional high from this experience that I had just gone through. Again, yeah, I didn't make the team, but at least I had this great story that I could share the rest of my life, like right now. And if I hadn't done that, I always would have regretted it. Still, despite a great story like that, I many times was not a trier. I said no far too often, even if it was something as simple as, hey, do you want to go out to the bar tonight? No, I'll go next time. That was until I was driving to work one day and listened to an interview on the radio. It was an author, I think he's a comedian, named Danny Wallace. He wrote a book called Yes Man that was eventually turned into a Jim Carrey movie. Ironically, I haven't read the book or seen the movie yet, but apparently they're not even remotely related other than the saying yes. The important thing, though, is that Danny Wallace, he was talking to a stranger on the bus one day, and the stranger says, say yes more. And he took that to the extreme. He started saying yes to every credit card offer that came in the mail. He started saying yes to, I think he ended up getting involved with a group that met and talked about how the pyramids were built by ancient Egyptians, but whole year just said yes to absolutely everything. And I think, fortunately, he didn't explicitly tell his friends yet that, so they wouldn't take advantage of him. I thought, okay, that's a bit extreme, but you know, there's probably something in this. I do say no way too often. I do need to say yes more, and I need to start trying new things. Best example of that came maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. I was playing on a softball team, and as apparently happens on co-ed softball teams, especially co-ed softball teams where couples play on, pregnancies really knock out your team, especially when 4 couples get pregnant at the same time, including the manager. So the team that you're the odds were looking pretty slim that we'd have a team that year unless somebody stepped in to play manager, become manager. And I had been going back and forth. I knew I wanted to manage someday, but it was always still a someday thing until my one friend on the team, who was very much a yes-sayer and very, very focused and driven, he eventually talked me into it. And I'm very fortunate he did. As I may have told this story before. It starts that, again, 8 people were out this year because of pregnancy, so I needed to, even though I'd stepped up as manager, I still needed to fill in the roster. I started, there was this girl at work that I knew through high school, knew she played softball in high school, so obvious first step said, okay, let's recruit her. And you'd think my new attitude of yes, I would have asked her right away, but no, still went back and forth. Eventually I did ask her, and the next thing you know, she's, wouldn't it be funny if, my sister's never played before, wouldn't it be funny if we put her on the team just to see how bad she does? Like, okay, sure, whatever. The next thing you know, that the sister is saying, well, I'm not making a fool of myself on my own, I'm going to invite my friend from college. So this friend from college, she had never played softball before, but she said, yes, I'm going to try. And I am certainly glad she did, because as the season went along, this new girl, Erin, and I struck up quite a friendship. Friendship that was almost, it was put in a bit of jeopardy because I had previously said yes to another opportunity that a past me might not have done. I had in my head that I was going to take my entire 4 weeks of vacation from work and I was going to go on this road trip. I had a friend living in Omaha, had tickets to the College World Series, so I was going to drive out 1 week to Omaha, catch games, and then drive all the way back in the second week. Along the way, stopping at many friends' houses, many landmarks, and just having a full 2-week road trip. I called it a barnstorming tour in reference to all the old baseball players who back in the 30s would just drive around during the off season and play baseball games wherever. So it was a great experience. Again, I'm glad I said yes to it, but at the same time, I have this burgeoning relationship with this girl I just met. Fortunately, that worked out to my favor. In this case, absence made the heart grow fonder, and it finally gave us the courage to set up our first date together. And if you flash forward, going on 8 years now, Erin is, became my girlfriend, became my wife, now the mother of my 2 children. So a great story of where saying yes and trying things can lead you. From there, still had some hesitation, but I really did start saying yes to trying more things. Erin turned me on to wine and sushi. I had been on the fence for many years about giving blood. I just always assumed I would pass out. I didn't know that for a fact, but just always in the back of my head. So one day I tried it, and nothing happened. Hey, great. 2 or 3 times later, I'm going in, and I'm reading the material, and what's this stuff about double red? And you just give basically a double dose of blood, and here's the process, and it's pretty harmless, and you're helping twice as many people in effect. So, sure, I'll try that. Now I'm a double red giver, a blood giver, which is great for me because I may not always have time to give or money to give to charity, but I can always go in and spend half an hour of my Saturday and give blood. Another example, I stepped in. I'm on the board of directors at the Slovak Club in Lorraine, and there's an opening for secretary of the board, and I've never thought secretary is for me because my handwriting is terrible. Nothing more than that, but again, I tried it, and it's made me, kind of forced me to get more involved with the board. So again, very, very happy to be a trier there. Another example, one that just came up very recently. I recently accepted a new position here in American Greetings, and it was very strange for me because in the past, my last 2 jobs, my previous job, I absolutely hated, so I wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. Job before that, they were relocating to Cincinnati, so I didn't want to go with them. So this was a new experience. This was, I like my current job, so do I really want to move on? So, there's some trepidation there, but still, I tried it, and I'm just starting it now, so I can't really tell you too much, but it's going well so far. I moved cubes today, and everybody there, it's a great group of people, so it's still a little scary, but I'm glad I tried it, and I'm really looking forward to it. In conclusion, again, with all due respect to Mr. Yoda,
Trying is doing.
and it's what made me what I am today, John Katricak, a loving husband, father of 2, QSR event management analyst, CC, CL. Now, what can trying do for you, Mr. Toastmaster?